You are consenting to being recorded. Yes, I'm saying continue. Okay.
Good. Pull up my everything. So, yeah. Have you ever done an interview like this before?
Yeah.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sick, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only really done this once before. Around about 2 years ago, I did an interview for class with a soundtrack composer, Ego Plum. I don't know if you're aware of him, but yeah, he was
No.
very nice.
Great.
He does
Well,
a lot of yeah.
I'll try to be nice too. I tend to live under I tend to live under a rock, so I don't know enough about what's going on in the outside
Yeah,
world.
that makes sense. Yeah, that's fair.
I tend to just I've been I mean, I don't really consume a lot of media at this point, so
that's
I don't really buy. I mean, I don't really buy records anymore much, except for my favorite bands. You know, I've become one of these people that just works, and so I miss out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. I'm studying at university, but I don't work, so I've got a bit of spare time. Actually, this is the only week I'm free for a long time when I don't have assessments.
I see. Where are
Yeah.
you located? Are you in London?
No, I'm in this place called Poole, which is like an hour away from London.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, great. So what would you like to know?
Great. I'll ask. I have a handful of questions. First is, how did you discover the Residents? How did you find out?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. Well, I'm going to be 53 this year, and the Residents, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where you're finding me. This is my vault, by the way, which is where I my film and video vault. And the Residents are from here, and actually, it's funny now that I think about this, because when I was in junior high school, so in America that would be seventh grade, so I would have been 12, 13, something like that. It was a very hip kid who had a Meet the Residents t-shirt, and I was, being a big Beatles fan, I was very intrigued as to who that was, and so that was my first introduction to who the Residents were as a kid, and I thought, who the fuck is this weird? Who would mess with the Beatles? Who would mess with the Beatles?
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't hear them for a while, and then I think I first heard them on this program that, I don't know if you have any knowledge of this show over there, but it was very influential to my generation. It was called Dr. Demento.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Demento around 1979, 1980 started playing punk and underground music pretty regularly on his show. And I'm pretty sure that's when he played a clip from the Miniatures album, which was the first time I heard the Residents doing a 1-minute piece that they contributed. And so I think that was the beginning. And but then an interesting thing happened. My first job was working at a video store in Berkeley, California, where I grew up. And I guess I was 13 or 14. I would cut class. I would cut high school. I would skip school to go work at this job. And there was a guy that used to come in that I actually recognized. I'm sort of leaving part of the story out. I knew this guy when I was 10 years old from the movie theater that I used to go to. He was the manager of a movie theater in town I used to go to. Then he showed up again at this video store that I started working at. His name is Dale. And so we started talking, and I found out he was a musician and that he was in this band. and that the band was called MX80 Sound.
Oh.
And he goes, oh yeah, we had a couple records on the Residents record label. And I said, wait, what? What? You did? You, Dale? You had, I don't understand. You mean the Anonymous band? And this just started this whole discussion. And you mean you know the Residents? It's like, oh, sure I do, you know. And then like, so my head as a teenager was completely blown. This is like 1983 or so, but I'd known Dale since 1978, since I was a little kid. And that led to a whole nother, like, now I really have to find out who this Residents are, because my friend Dale had records on their label, and just it started piling up, and that's when I think I got really into them, and started getting the records. And back then they were plentiful on vinyl, used and pretty cheap. Also, there was a great thing that used to happen, which was that the Residents used to have Ralph Records used to have a garage sale in their warehouse, their second or third warehouse in San Francisco. And they would advertise it, and you would go there and they would just sell sort of like collector's items and also sort of detritus, just sort of stuff, and that they wanted to get rid of. And sometimes it would be something like a prop from the Mole Show, or it would be an autographed, quote unquote, autographed records, Residents record, or it would be a box of weird Ralph Records detritus, like backstage passes and stickers and weird shit. And I bought a bunch of that stuff. And so, you know, that's the kind of ludicrous Residents fandom that I had.
That's so great. What was the first record you bought of theirs, if you can remember?
I think it was probably the white vinyl Eskimo.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
I think it was either that or it was the commercial album. I think. Can't say for sure anymore. It's too far in the rearview mirror. But yeah. And then I bought them all again when they got reissued on CD, because I was a sucker for the CD craze like everybody else. So I bought them a second time, and now I have. So I probably have them all twice.
I have a few twice because of the preserved CDs and the vinyls. I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever seen them live in concert?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Yes.
How many?
I saw the first time I saw them was the 13th anniversary tour with Snakefinger. It was in San Francisco, and I was in like the second or third row. Very important show for me as a teenager. That was a show where Penn and Teller. Are you familiar with Penn and Teller?
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah.
Right. The Penn and Teller were the MCs of that show, and they would come on, and I guess they started it. I forget that they did a routine, and then at one point, like when the Residents were, I don't remember what the tune was, but they were doing something really big and dramatic. I think Teller walked out, and in the middle of the music. Yeah. And then just like while the Residents were playing, I think it was Teller just strolled out on stage and took a giant needle and it was not real, of course.
Yeah.
And just stuck it into his arm, and fake blood poured down his arm. And he just stood there like.
That's so funny.
And then he strolled off stage while the band was just going and going and going. Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah, I think there's a bootleg of the show with Penn and Teller that goes around. It's on YouTube, and there's a lot of talking about magic acts, but as it's a bootleg, you're like, oh, I wonder what that looked like.
That's interesting, because actually I have always wanted to see video of that show, and I know they were shooting the 13th anniversary tour, but the Cryptic Corporation does not have a lot of video left. Like they gave a lot of it to Museum of Modern Art, and when I've worked with them through Homer Flynn, and asked him like, well, like I've been to his storage, and well, what do you have? You know, do you have anything on this? And no, I don't have that. So, and I know he's thrown stuff away. Like they threw away the master for the Mole Show video because it was just taking up too much space.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, they have backups, but
yeah,
they had the 2-inch master reel, and he's like, yeah, I was using it as a doorstop for a long time. Yeah, he threw it away.
that's so residential. Yeah, I actually I've heard a rumor a few times that maybe it's just that MTV filmed a rehearsal of the 13th anniversary show, and that it might be in their archives, but I've never seen any footage from it, and no one's ever said anything. I've never heard anything official.
Yeah, don't know about that.
Yeah.
I just transferred for them a freak show video that I don't think anybody had ever seen, but that was supposed to come out, and it may have already. I don't know.
Is that the Ty's Freak Show? Is that the a 1991 performance? I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Yeah. I don't think that's the video for that's been released. I think that but the audio is on
the
Freak Show edition.
Because there's definitely video that was quite good with 2 cameras, and I transferred that for them, and that was pretty awesome to see. I saw that show too. I saw a couple. But the 13th anniversary show was really I've seen a bunch actually. I mean, I saw them do a one-off show only, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, where I used to work at the Berkeley Art Museum, that they never did again. I mean, when you live here, you get to see. Oh, and I just saw them last year. do the or was it last year, right before COVID?
Yeah,
the Gun 3 Persons. Yeah, I saw the preview of that. Yeah,
that's great.
Have you seen them play?
I saw their In Between Dreams tour in 2019, which was very good. Right. It was really a magical experience, but I've never been able to see them again. I only, because they've not come to England before again. Well, luckily, it seems like they take all of their major tours to England, but a lot of the little ones, like God and Three Persons, are just, San Francisco only, and I'm like, or America only.
Right, they did New York.
Yeah, but yeah, In Between Dreams was a really special experience, and actually, when they released the DVD of In Between Dreams, I was like, oh, the camera's not looking at this, but he's doing an amazing thing that I saw him do live. And I'm like, oh. And that was a little, I really liked that show. And actually, for the UK tour of In Between Dreams, they played entirely in churches, which was really amazing. So I got to see him in like a refurbished church with
that's
Jesus
fabulous.
Crucified behind them. It was very great. Yeah,
that's great.
The seats were uncomfortable as well, so I added to it.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
What else would you like to know?
Okay. How did you start working with the Residents?
I pretty much just insinuated myself with them. Some cases I've been asked to do something, but in most cases my enthusiasm has just I just insinuated myself. I offered my services, and this was one of those examples.
So what was your?
Go ahead.
What was your first project with the Residents? What did you first?
Well, it's been pretty recent. Basically, what happened specifically with the Residents was I watched the documentary. The name of it.
Fear of Obscurity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was so horrified by the quality of the transfers of their films, of their legendary films in it. I was so appalled by the color fading, in particular. Just, I knew what they were supposed to look like because I had known those films for years. And I just thought, like, what the hell happened? I know what these are. Why do these transfers not represent what these movies are? And furthermore, this is the way they're always going to be seen by people. This cannot stand. And I already had Homer's email address from something, I forget why, and I reached out to him and I said, what happened? You know, and he said, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't even remember exactly why they wound up that way, but it, you know, in the world of film in the world of filmmaking, documentary making, I mean, forgive me if I tell you something that you already know, but
It's
when
fine.
you're compiling sources to make a documentary, you know, obviously you try to go for the best source you have. In the case of the Residents, their films, which were made, you know, in the 70s and 80s, were shot on film, transferred to old video formats, right? And then this documentary was made in an HD video format. And it was decided to retransfer the films to HD. Well, there were no non-faded prints. Okay, it's like the prints, the film prints themselves, like you see here, all the color film prints had deteriorated over time.
Yeah.
The only thing that still had color were either the old videotapes, which are low resolution and just like what we would see if you bought the VHS back in the day.
Yeah.
Or the DVD that was out, which is sort of mid resolution or something like that. The only way to get the actual color is to go back to the original negative of the thing and basically put it back together again, the film element. And those filmmakers either didn't want to or didn't know where the material was, or it was just too big of a project. I mean, I can't really blame them, but in any case, they didn't. And I said, I will do that. And furthermore, I know where the material is because I used to work at the archive where they were stored. And so I just basically said, Homer, I'll do this. And I have a source for funding to do this from the person that I was working with. And he said, great. And so I just basically got his permission and went ahead and did it. And that's why there's the new versions of them now, which are now in the permanent collection at MoMA. And I just methodically went through and did all the ones that I could. As it happens, I have in the world of show and tell, there's a few that I haven't done yet. And this right here is the original camera negative for Jinx, the beautiful Tuxedo Moon film. And like, you can see that it says A roll. I don't know if you can see that.
I can make that out, I think.
Right, and B roll. And that's basically like one shot, next shot, one shot, next shot. It just cuts back and forth. And this is the camera negative original, and you have to scan these in and then re-edit it digitally in the computer and match it to how the original was. This is what I did with each one of the Residents films. And I haven't gotten to Jinx yet. It's one of two I haven't done, and the other one is this Man with the Dark Hand.
That was actually one of my next questions.
Yeah. Well, there's a problem with this one.
Yeah.
This one's really weird, and I will show you. This one, the negative is lost, and what we have here is a very weird thing that I have never encountered before, and this was filmed on 16 millimeter film, like all of their shorts were, which is actually the format you see here.
Yeah.
Right. This is a 35 millimeter film, and it is, you'll notice it says double A-wind. It is a duplicate negative, and what they've done is it's really bizarre. They've taken the A roll and the B roll, and they've printed them top to bottom like this. It has to be scanned in like that. And I have never encountered this. I've only been doing professional restoration on this level for about 5 years. So in a sense, I'm a novice. But when I've asked people about this format, they've kind of like shrugged their shoulders. And Graham Whiffler, who directed it, shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't remember fucking doing that. I don't know what that is. it's unclear whether we'll ever be able to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's a long way of saying I had to do it, I felt, because, and I'm still sitting on these precious elements which belong to the Pacific Film Archive. They were donated by the residents to the PFA, and I have them at the moment on loan in my vault, getting ready to be transferred. I'm just waiting for the funding to materialize to do them because they're pretty expensive to do.
Yeah.
The only reason why they weren't done was because we were concentrating on the residents and MX80 sound for the project in 2019, because we had articles on both those bands. We didn't have the funding to do the Snake Finger and the Tuxedo Moon films. So that's why they're still sitting here. But long way of answering your original question. I just felt like I had to do them, because if people are only going to see these films through Theory of Obscurity, that documentary, indefinitely, it's not a true representation of how the work is. I mean, the color was so wrong. They were brown, and they were just, I mean, they're awful. They're awful. And I just knew they didn't look like that. So I couldn't take it. I couldn't stand it. I had to do something. So same thing with DEVO. That's I approached DEVO. I had been actually working with DEVO off and on for some years on an informal basis, but they'd had me transfer some really amazing rare stuff, which I hope some of you will get to see someday. But they also were in a situation where, like, they're very much like the residents, where the existing copies of their films were so rotten, and I was like, guys, you've got the originals, let's do this right. I have the funding to do so, same exact deal. And I made new restorations of 2 of their films, and I'm going to move forward and do the rest of them this year. So it's just like somebody has to do it, is the way I look at it, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Are there any rare Ralph or Devo videos you have that probably no one's seen before, or that you're aware of? You know?
Funny you should ask me, the French.
Kind of, yeah, pretty fun.
I just happen to have sitting right next to me.
Oh. The Residents home movie.
Yeah. So this is exactly what you think it is. And inside this can is a reel, which I will, in extremely unarchival fashion, touch with my bare hands.
Oh.
I do not recommend you do this at home, but it's not a negative. It is a print nonetheless. And it is labeled, if I read this correctly, yeah, it says 1969 to 8/73.
That's insane.
And by looking at this, I can tell that these are individual, like 50 or 100 foot spools spliced together. So this is a compilation, effectively, of home movies, and this came from the Cryptic Corporation. Oh, there's another sticker on the back that's clear. Yes, 1969 to 8/73. So this is apparently exactly what you think it is. And I have
what's that?
I've not scanned it yet.
No. Okay.
And it I would never project it, because it's way too precious for that. So it needs to be scanned. Again, it's a funding issue. It's a precious materials issue. You don't want to just, oh, let's throw this on the projector and see what it looks like. Of course, that's what they did for years, but I'm not going to do that now. But yeah, it's just one of these funny things that turned up in a box. who knows? And even once I look at it, the Cryptic Corporation might say like, no, we don't want that out there. I mean, obviously it shows, I'm sure, faces and things.
Yeah.
I don't think their anonymity is really that important to them anymore. I mean,
No.
let's face it, Hardy Fox outed himself,
Yeah.
basically, and then in his obituary it like completely made it clear. But you know,
Yeah.
so
It's still a nicety, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also recently completed, just about 2 weeks ago, I think I am now probably the only person outside of the residents who has now seen all 19 hours of Vileness Fats.
That's,
God help me.
yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I transferred all of it, and it Vileness Fats. This is not a reel from it. This is just by way of example. This is a junk reel, but Vileness Fats existed on a format basically like this, which is this very low quality video format, half-inch videotape, black and white. And yes, if there's anybody watching this video that is a cat, and I am holding a piece of, this is junk. So no, this is not an archival moment, and I'm letting a cat be anywhere near this. However, this is a vault, and there is a cat in here, and it's very bad behavior, and we'll just forget that, you know, that just happened. But anyway, yes, so this is basically low resolution, black and white. If you've seen the Whatever Happened to Vileness Fats, you know what it looks like. And you know, you can see why they abandoned the movie, because, you know, it was made on this. And yeah, it's a drag. It's the most difficult format I've ever had to work with. It's actually, the tape's held up pretty well, but the image quality is just so bad. Like, it's very frustrating to work with. You can tell there was so much love put into all those sets and everything, and you just want to see it with detail and color, and you don't.
Yeah. That's the real universal Residents fan experience. Just wanting to see Vileness Fats, but it's just
you don't.
Well, I mean, wanting to see it in its true, you know,
look
as it was.
You don't. I mean, this is the thing. There is no there. You know, there is so much brilliant imagery that could have been. I mean, there's so much that could have been, and actually there is enough that there's enough that they didn't use, that they could do a whole nother, like, Whatever Happened to, out of context, has no meaning, has no logic, has no you know, and it would be pretty astonishing to watch. But the trick about Vileness Fats is, you know, that it was shot with the intention of none of the audio being used. It was supposed to be shot silent, and all of the sound that gets used in it was supposed to be overdubbed, and, you know, so all of the audio, all 19 hours of the audio, is raw, on set, never supposed to be heard by the audience, right? So if you show it to somebody, you're getting a very improper picture of what the creators intended, right?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't belong in the public sphere, even like, it's not artistically valid to show people clips from it, really, at least not in length, because unless you ran it silent, and then even then it's like, well, doesn't it need some music or something? I mean, it would require them to take it and put it into the world, not somebody like me who has seen it in this unfinished state. It just doesn't make any, it would not honor the work at all, you know. But I can tell you that, I mean, as someone who's actually seen it all, there are some beautiful images and totally fucked up ideas in it, and very offensive things, you know, that would never pass muster today, that you cannot, you know, very incorrect.
Yeah. I think that's probably what the intention was with the film they're currently working on, which I don't think has a name at the moment.
Yes.
But it was called Double Trouble, Triple Trouble, and then now I've heard it referred to as Lie. But that, I feel like that's to recontextualize those images without the limitations, or, you know, and finish them.
Sounds like that's what they're doing. Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I gave them, they asked me to give them the transfer to use for that project. So we are going to, I'm really excited to see whatever they do, but they apparently, what my understanding was, they literally only wanted seconds of Alpha, Arf, and Omega fighting. So, I mean, I really hope they go a lot deeper, because that's all they wanted from the footage was literally seconds. And I'm like, there's so much more. I mean, I will reveal one thing. There is, I don't know if this has come out. Well, I don't know. You can remind me, but in Whatever Happened to Violinist Fats, does there's a version of is it Eloise? Is that right?
No, there's an in Violinist Fats. There is Eloise. Yeah, I forget. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he also does Kamikaze Lady.
I think that was a free weird one week, like a little snippet of him doing Kamikaze Lady.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think that's out there, but maybe not. Like, well, it's like test footage. It looks like he's standing in between two people's legs, and he's. Does
it look like it's filmed from a monitor?
I think so. Maybe I'm not too sure.
I think I sent that to him.
Oh,
was this within the last like year and a half?
I think so. Maybe I don't remember exactly when it was. I think.
Yeah, I wonder if that because while I was transferring it, I was laughing so hard that I took my iPhone and I filmed off the screen several clips of that sequence, and I sent them to Homer Flynn.
Yeah, a few nightclub scenes were put out as free weirds, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, I think there's one of Fever, Peggy Honeydew doing Fever, and that was a free weird around that same time. Yeah. I also think I sent that to him. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, that is really great. And then, you know, so I can see why that stuff would come out. But I mean, there are these dialogue scenes that are so tedious. They're agonizing to watch. And then there's some that are like kind of brilliant, but it's no.
Yeah, there's a synopsis that came out, I think, with a art book they did recently, and each scene had listed next to it whether it was shot or not. And I was wondering if you'd seen that synopsis and whether no. Well, okay. Well, I was going to ask whether you could confirm which scenes were shot and which were not, but
well, you could mention things to me and I could tell.
I don't have the book with me at the moment, but we have a transcript of it over at the Meet the Residents wiki.
Okay.
Which I could send over and you can look at.
I could tell you. I mean,
it might be a little tedious to go through now.
Okay.
But maybe.
Yeah, that's. probably going to be too clunky.
Yeah, it's a long synopsis. Anyway, anyhow.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll skim through it. And I'll try to tell you.
Okay.
What shot and not shot after we're done.
Yeah, because there's a few things that say not shot, but have appeared on stuff like the Fear of Obscurity DVD and the Free Weird, and we're like, oh,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, how were the films for Eyes, Ears, and Throat selected?
Just my taste mainly.
Okay.
I mean, taste and availability.
Yeah.
You know, some of those things were I was pretty obsessed by for some time. Def Punk, the film on the San Francisco Deaf Club, is one of my favorite things. I think it's just an amazing document, and I had wanted that to have a larger audience for years. The filmmaker is dead. The negative is lost. Very hard to secure permission to show that. It took me, it took years to get that restoration done. Way before the by NWR project. Actually, I was working on that. It was just a series of things I had been thinking about for a long time, and then when the opportunity to do an all punk / underground series came along, I just sort of went with my gut instinct. And because I was already sort of formulating the Residents restorations, that dovetailed nicely with programming that compilation. And so when I created that 90-minute piece, that kind of happened at the same time that I was approaching Cryptic Corporation, and it all sort of worked logistically. And then we wound up writing articles for the site about the Residents, and I interviewed Graham Whiffler, and like all those things kind of worked holistically, and it all it sort of built itself. And the Devo was actually, I think, a late addition. I think doing the first Devo film was just was a lucky break that we were able to do that. Same kind of deal. Like, I think we can do this. Do we have your permission? Yes. All
right. That's sweet. Let me see what else have I got here. What's been your working relationship with Devo been? When did you start working with Devo? And
I used to be, for 20 odd years, I was in this group called Negativland, and we have mutual friends with them through it's various people that both groups know. And so I've peripherally known them through Negativland, and that was just sort of on a social level, and going to shows, seeing them play, and then I got the idea that I wanted to preserve their films and started talking to them about that maybe 10 years ago, but nothing ever came of it. Then I shot the hardcore live hardcore show, which came out on Blu-ray. I actually originated that project, but then it wound up, which is fine. I'm actually glad it went this way. Yeah. I originated it as our super lo-fi, like just two of us shooting that show in Oakland, and Jerry ran with that and turned it into a much bigger production, and hired a crew, sold to a company, and they made this actual documentary film, and then felt bad and hired me on as one of the camera people. So it all worked out in the end. In any case, the result is so great what they did with it, the Hardcore Devo Live, that I mean, it's so much better than it ever would have been if I'd have just been standing there like a dumbass with my camera. Yeah. So there was that, and then I just kind of kept being in touch, and then actually it was this format that that got me really working intensively with them, because they remembered that I had offered to transfer stuff for them, and a couple years ago they said, you know, we have these live shows from the 70s that we've never seen, and they're on this weird format. Can you transfer that? And I'm like, yeah. And and they sent me up a box of these, and let me tell you, it is the greatest shit. I mean, some of it is leaked already in the past. They're shows in they're all shows in Akron and Cleveland, like at the Crypt. There's a couple shows, and there's little bits of it that have come out, but I transferred all of it, and it is just precious shit. And so once I did that, I started thinking like, wow, you know, do you have more? And it was just kind of like the same thing with the Cryptid Corporation. And I went down to Mutado, to their studio, and I met with Mark, and I started looking around their tape archive and was just flabbergasted how much audio tape there was. Not a lot of video, not a lot of film, not a lot of no film really, not a lot of video, but thousands and thousands of reels of audio tape. And I said, Mark, have you guys digitized much of this stuff? Who's kind of kept track of this over the years? And he said, oh, you know, nobody. And then he's like, oh, this might be a kind of a fun tape. And he pulled out one thing, and we're looking at it together and kind of laughing. And I'm like, Mark, can I just start transferring this stuff? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. You know, you'll be careful with it, right? I said, yeah. And one thing led to another. And now I've transferred about, I don't know, 300, 400 hours of DEVO audio. A lot of which the world has never heard or seen. I do have a couple of cool things here actually in the show and tell universe.
Yeah, I really love DEVO, and particularly
do you?
that
well,
period
listen,
as well.
You're gonna let me tell you, my friend. Once we get, let me see if I have any here. Oh yeah. once we get it sorted out, there is so much great material. For instance, here is a 24-track live recording of DEVO at the Starwood in LA. This is an amazing concert. They have 3 nights of them playing, 24-track, never released. And
is that the was that used in the Men Who Make the Music video?
Yes, it was. Yeah. But not only do we have all the 24-track audio, but I found all of the master video for it. And the video, hilariously enough, because the budget was so low, is shot on Betamax. Not Betacam, Betamax, consumer grade. Here are 2 of the masters. So I'm going to be eventually transferring all of it. It was a 2-camera shoot at the Starwood. So yes, you're absolutely right. That is what it is. And so, but that's just, man, that is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much beautiful, beautiful stuff. You know, not so much video. That's one of the video things, but because they're really pretty in terms of their own archive, it's pretty underrepresented in the visual level. Most of their video stuff is sitting in the Warner vault, and we've all seen it before. But the audio, Mark kept everything. And Mothersbaugh, he kept everything, and he cataloged it pretty well. So I have transferred some wonderful shit, and I hope that someday, you know, I mean, I talk to those guys a couple times a week. It's actually Mark's birthday today.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Happy birthday,
yeah.
Mark.
And, I was texting with him this morning, and we will. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. They recently put out the Unmasked and Brand book, which is a art book of DEVO, and there's a thing in it, I think Jerry says, where they stored a lot of their stuff, like props and everything and tapes,
the Enigma headquarters or storage space. And when Enigma shut down, he saw people just like taking it, just like running off with pieces of the new traditionalist set. And I was like, that's awful. Yeah.
I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite possible. Yeah.
Well,
They did. I mean, there's no tapes missing, but
yeah.
yeah. The only tape that the DEVO does not have in their possession is the multi-track of Freedom of Choice, which unfortunately, due to some backroom sneakiness, wound up going back to Warner Brothers, even though I don't think it actually is physically owned by them, but they actually we have a really good, amazingly good relationship with the vault people, the archive people at Warner, and we have full access to the Warner vault. So they're totally open to letting us go and make archival copies of anything we want from there. But DEVO has everything that they've done basically in Mark's vault, which is great.
That's good.
So yeah, I actually have, I can't really show you too easily, but I actually do have here one of DEVO's original 4-track machines, which was used to record some of the hardcore DEVO stuff. And I had to bring it up here from LA because it has a particular speed peculiarity, which I needed to transfer some of the hardcore DEVO stuff, which is kind of cool. Whenever possible, I try to get things as close to how they're supposed to be as possible. And in this case, I had no choice because the speed was a certain way and I had to do it the way it is. But I did find, like, for instance, I found the master tape for the session from 1975 that is on the hardcore CD and the reissue. We all know the songs. I mean, it's Jocko Homo and Space Girl Blues.
Oh yeah,
you know,
Automodome.
like six or seven, right?
Yeah.
Right. All that stuff.
Yeah.
But I found the actual master, as opposed to the second generation or third generation dub, which is what they had been using for all those years. I don't know why they didn't use the master. Who knows? But when I put that sucker on and listened to that, oh my God, the fidelity is like, my head just exploded. I mean, the detail you can hear on the drums, on the electronic drums, it was like a revelation. So one of the things I would love to do is release that as an EP. You know, again, it's like, you know, it's dealing with anything like this is sort of like swimming through molasses, you know? But this is what an archivist does, you know, in a sense. It's like you're just making sure the shit is there, you know, and that it's preserved. And a very important thing I really want to just get across, since I know I've just talked nonstop for however long.
No, it's fine. That's what you're here for.
Okay. Is that, you know, I don't want to give the impression that transferring stuff to digital is like somehow that's like somehow you're automatically rescuing something, or that's you know, that's like the answer, because it isn't. You know, if you I love to remind people that these, you know, what I am you know, surrounded by all this analog stuff, you know, even that beta tape that's 40 years old, more than that stuff will outlast digital, insofar as the digital, sure, you can make a perfect clone of it. There is not a single digital format that exists that's ever been invented that you can just put on a shelf and leave. It doesn't exist. They all die. So the only way to maintain digital is to constantly migrate it, constantly back it up. And people will never get this completely clear through their heads until they lose like all of their precious, you know, creations. I think, you know, and we as a culture have given ourselves, this is going to be a rant, but we've given ourselves, you know, myself included to a degree, with my, you know, with one of these, you know, we've given ourselves over to digital so extensively that we are at the risk of losing stuff, right? So I always tell people, when you transfer your analog materials to digital, keep your analog material. Even if you bake the tape, people think like, oh, now I guess I destroyed it, I can throw it away. Like, no, you can rebake the tape and rebake it and rebake it and rebake it. You know, it's like, so yeah, all this Devo stuff, when it, or the Residents things, any of these things, it's like once they're transferred, it's great to like preserve it in amber at the moment, this digital amber, it's not even amber, to preserve it digitally at that moment for use. But that original is still the thing for as long as it survives, which could be a really long time.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Devo stuff, you know, Mark has been taking great care of those analog materials. And as long as there's no flood or fire, they're going to outlast any hard drive, any file, you know, so.
Yeah. This is I didn't realize until now that you were involved with Negativland. Stupidly, I really love Dyspepsy and all that, but I'm not like I've not been aware. I wish I thought of questions about Negativland now.
Oh, I'm really glad you didn't. I'm really trying to put that whole period of my life behind me.
Okay.
So that's good.
Okay. Good. Well, great. Good thing I didn't ask about Negativland.
No,
okay. I mean, I can tell. I'll just ask. I'm trying to think of a Negativland question on my head now. Now, when did you join Negativland and how?
In 96, roughly, 95, 96. I started working with them, and then it was kind of clerically, like helping them with their books, and then I started getting involved creatively after that, and then started playing live in 98.
That's sick. That's sweet.
I worked on Dyspepsy a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then became creatively full-time involved in 98.
Yeah, I was just I was scurrying to through your Discogs page to be like, oh shit, which Negativlands is he on? What should I ask? Because there's actually I think the album Escape from Noise actually has the Residents on it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I've always been curious about that, and I wanted to ask, but I found out you weren't involved in that one.
No, and I used to know, and I don't remember anymore what their contribution was. You know, and Devo's on, or Mark Mothersbaugh's on.
Oh yeah, too. Yeah.
I mean, I think actually that Mark Hosser went to the DEVO studio, the old DEVO studio, and actually sat with Mothersbaugh as he played something for that. If I remember the story, but yeah, I don't know, because it was before my time.
Yeah. Well, okay. Next question. Oh, what are your current projects?
Ooh. Well, there's something very big that I can't talk about that involves DEVO.
Okay.
And hopefully we will all know about it soon. Other than that, then that's just getting sort of kicked around. It's actually been in the works for a couple of years. So that's one thing. But basically I do film preservation full time, or at least try to. Since the pandemic, I haven't had a paying gig until about a month ago. I didn't have a paying job since December 2019. Lean times. So yeah, I pretty much have just been working on sort of self-motivated transfer projects and helping friends and bands out doing little things. Also, the DEVO thing, the transfer end of the DEVO project has been sort of self-motivated. So like what I've done in a sense is sometimes I would just go to Mutato. I haven't been down there actually since the pandemic, so it's been since January, but I would just grab a big stack of tape and just take it back with me on the airplane. It's an hour flight, and so I preferred not to ship things because it's too precious. Sometimes I would FedEx them, but generally I would carry them, and I'll just take the tape up here and then gradually go through it. So I still have, like in the case of the Starwood tape, that's actually been transferred, I just haven't returned it yet. You know, there's just tape here. So sometimes I will just put a tape on and run it. You know, some tapes are in such bad shape that they need further restoration. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So those are the kind of things I'm working on. There's like slow, tedious things. Violinist Fats actually sat here for months, and then Homer and the Cryptics needed it back because they were shooting Double Trouble, Triple Trouble, whatever the fuck it's called now. They needed it back because they needed to actually physically have the tapes to show as props in the film.
Yeah.
And so I gave them back, and then months later they're like, oh, actually, we would like some more of this transferred. So then I got it back and wound up transferring the whole rest of the like 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever I hadn't done, and completed that a couple weeks ago. So I did that. Oh, MX80 Sound. Tons of MX80 Sound stuff. The band is still active after almost 50 years. And
I've not been able to get into MX80 Sound lately, but
oh, they're so
I should.
Great.
Yeah,
they're great. So great. We actually recorded an album which I co-produced in a studio during the pandemic. That was pretty exciting. We actually all quarantined for 2 weeks separately. Everybody quarantined and then got together in the studio to record this record. And it's a big band too. It's a 6-person band. So it's a double trio. So it was pretty intense. And the producer, the engineer, everybody quarantined to do this. We recorded the record. We're mixing that. And we're reissuing their first EP from 1976, which is called Big Hits. A label, Canadian label, is putting that out. Called Supreme Echo. It's putting that out. It's an expanded version. It's been turned into an album with all this unreleased music. It's called Big Hits and Other Bits. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of MX80 music coming out. They were very prolific, especially during their heyday. They rehearsed 6 nights a week for 30 years. That's a lot of music. And they just kept grinding out songs. If you look on, I don't know if you've read the article, but Steve Albini and I each wrote articles on the by NWR website about MX80, which
I haven't read those articles yet. But
yeah, it tells the whole story.
Right.
And I really recommend reading those because I think they are so wonderful and their story is so great.
Okay. That's great. I should really give them a shot now.
Yep. Great.
Recently recently on the Residents YouTube channel, they uploaded the Icky Flix Constantinople music video. Were you at all involved in restoring that?
The what? I didn't hear you. The what video?
The Constantinople music video from Icky Flix.
Oh, no.
No, okay.
No.
That's fair. Okay. And here's referring back to our emails from a year ago. You talked about a 7-inch single release of 2 songs from the Starwood set, but that never happened. I don't think so. I don't know.
That was an Australian label that was coming out as part of a book on the Starwood. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know what happened to that project.
No.
I've never heard. It might have come out. I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to do a bit of research and I haven't found anything. So maybe it's just vanished, or maybe it's in development hell or whatever.
In fact, you know what? You have to hold 1 second and let me just see. Oh, 9. Oh shit. Okay. Huh. Funny. One of the guys from MX80 Sound needed to be picked up at the doctor after his prostate appointment. He was waiting for me that was an hour ago. I told him I thought we were going to be interviewing for quite a while, and he apparently has taken a lift.
Oh,
So
well,
so I guess
well,
I guess he's fine.
Whoopsie. Well, I'm basically out of questions, so we might.
That's well. Okay.
Yeah,
he's done.
If there's no info about that Starwood 7-inch, then
yeah, you mean I'm actually
done.
glad you mentioned it, because I actually was going to look into that a while ago, and you know that we picked, well, the band picked great songs for that. I mean, I think it's Shrivel Up and oh man, I mean, they were just absolutely on fire at that period.
I love Shrivel Up. Yeah, that's one of my favorites by them. Yeah.
Well, I'll let you in on another little fun secret, is that we recently transferred the 24 track of the first album. And we got to hear, you know, all the stuff that Eno did, which they didn't really use quite so much. And there's a lot of just great shit in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, maybe, I mean, Mark's talked about this in interviews before,
I've read about
right? But maybe a remix of some sort could happen. At least a partial remix of a few songs would be so much fun, because listening to it is a blast. I mean, I think it was Space Junk. Yes, in Space Junk in particular, there is some shortwave shit in there, which is like to die for. I mean, such incredibly great extreme noise is in there, like whole channels, if you bring them up in the mixer, of just like you know. And I would love to hear like an extreme noise mix of Space Junk, you know. Maybe I'll just make one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that seems to be everything. Have a good day. Fun. Yeah. This has been really great. And I hope it was fun for you. Yeah.
It was. I know you're gonna post this on your little
my
channel.
YouTube channel. Yeah.
Great.
I'm not gonna put it on the channel that I put bootlegs and shit up on. Just I'm gonna create a new channel and maybe see if I can do more interviews, and maybe this can be a thing. Yeah.
Well, let me know when it goes up, and I'll tell people.
Great. Thanks.
Well, it's been fun. Thanks.
Yeah. See you.
And all right. See you again.